This is my behind the scenes blog edition. Finding Forward, the art of starting again. This blog is really kind of my origin story. I was reading Mastery by Robert Greene last year, like at this time. And he talks about how if you don't know what your purpose is, go look back to when you were a child and what were you interested in. As I was reflecting, I was like, man, I really was so drawn to music on the radio as a child, but I'm not a musician. I'm not a singer. But I think what I really liked about music, what really drew me to music could express a feeling that maybe I wasn't able to express. I had a hard time expressing myself growing up, and I just think that music was sort of that thing that helped me feel less alone, and that was kind of just through lyrics. So I feel like that was really my entry point into the interest of storytelling and just sharing personal things about myself through writing. In this blog, I talk about how I felt like I was kind of on this right track, and then I lost my brother when I was 23 years old, and I felt like that just sort of derailed my entire life. I shut down creatively for years, and it wasn't until more, the past year or two, that I was able to pick that back up and do something with it. Beyond comfort, finding connection in Kolkata. I had a feeling that India was going to be my first promoted blog that I wanted to do, because India is such a exotic place. I thought it would be really interesting for people to know that I was there and to learn a little bit about the culture. I was 20 years old. Yeah, it was quite a long time ago, and I recently had come across my old journals from that time. And so I had some memories that I had written down. I had some descriptions of, the marketplace and things like that I had written down, which I'm so grateful that I did. I was piecing together my old journal entries, and then but trying to make it cohesive and figuring out what the arc or the angle was. Felt a little rusty, given that this was my first real blog. I felt quite rusty getting back into writing and exercising those muscles again. I'm really proud of the outcome, and I think this really helped me kind of get back into shape. Between grief and Graceland, and then there's a part 1 and a part 2. I share in this blog about how my brother passed away in 2024, and I go into a lot of detail about how the freshness of grief, and I talk about family and the way that life goes on or doesn't go on when you're grieving, and talk about how you just tend to kind of question everything in your life, or what's the point, why do these things happen, why do we, loss is such a difficult thing to understand and to grapple with. This was me, I think, just expressing everything around that, and for me, the purpose of putting something like this out into the world is so that other people that have gone through the similar things that I have know that they're not alone. So many people have experienced grief and loss. I'm not the only one. And so, and that's really the heart behind all the blogs that I put out. I want, hopefully, for people to resonate with the things that I'm writing about, so that they feel less alone. From Fear to Flight, an anxious traveler's Japan story. It was an interview that I did with my friend Jenna. Her and her husband Josh went to Japan, and before they went on their trip, her and I were having a conversation about it, and she was just talking about how kind of quite anxious she was, and she'd never gone on a trip like this before. And as she was talking about it, At first, I was having difficulty like empathizing because I love traveling. Get me as far across the world as you want. Like I don't care. Like I don't have anxiety around travel, and so at first I was having a hard time kind of like meeting her in that place. And then something kind of clicked with me where I was like, like I might not be able to relate to you, but I bet there are so many people who can relate to that. Like travel anxiety, so many people have that. So I thought, like, whoa, like this would be a great blog where I could interview her and hopefully, like, her experience would help other people. And like, I mean, I do think that travel is important. I just do. If you're interested in growth, and expansion and just kind of like having a broader view of the world, then like, yeah, you should travel. I really like this because she talks about how she prepared herself mentally before the trip, and she has these great little pieces of advice in the blog where she talks about she actually is like specific, like these actionable things that she did to prepare ahead of time. Really great examples of when she was actually there, stressful things that had happened where she was able to like stop and like actually like connect with herself and like manage that anxiety. And I think I just think it's an amazing story. I think I was so proud of her and like doing that trip and having come out on the other side and feeling like, she was proud of herself and had this whole amazing experience in beautiful Japan. From Unraveling to Rebirth, Summer Renaissance 2023. When I was 29 years old, I quit my full-time job and became self-employed as an interior designer. And then shortly thereafter, I broke up with my boyfriend of 5 years. I like to call it my Renaissance, even though like my life was a mess, right? Like I kind of just blew up my life in a good way. Like it was a good thing. Both of those things were good things for me. I was very stuck and feeling like, where is my life going? How did I know that I should make those choices? First of all, make those changes. And then I talk about the aftermath, and I talk about like how hard it is. Like I don't want anyone to think that change is easy or like breaking up with leaving someone is easy. It's not easy. It's really, really hard. And I was really intentional about like not sugarcoating it at all and being like, and my life was awesome after that, and I was like successful. No. No, it was not. Like there's a lot of wreckage to deal with after you make those major changes, but it is worth it. But you have to know that like there's a lot to sort through, and that's okay. It's a good thing. It's messy, but it's worth it. Conclusion of the blog was that like I got myself back. I know it's kind of cliche, but it's true. Starting to really design a life that I could be proud of, and like a life that I felt I was more in control of, and it wasn't just sort of like drifting or doing what someone else wanted me to do or what I thought I should be doing. I really had to learn to sit with uncertainty for a long time, really work through those ups and downs of self-employment, of being single for the first time in 5 years, but being single as a 29-year-old where most people are already kind of linked up, married, partners, whatever. It was hard, and I'm glad I made it out of that phase, and but it was really a good very stretching time for me. Reunion in the Rockies, hiking, healing, and holding on. This was my blog about my trip to Banff in Alberta. I have wonderful friends who live near there. We reconnected, and she was like, come out and visit us. We'll take you to, we'll do some hiking. We'll take you to Banff. I didn't realize how much I had healed from past like grief and trauma and things like that until I was like scaling a mountain. My nervous system was so out of whack for many years. I realized like how calm I was, even though certain things like in the past I would have been so like super anxious, or like feeling like I was gonna die or something. Like like I don't know. I'm not like a seasoned hiker or whatever, and we were scaling up an avalanche chute, and it was quite uncertain, and it was really difficult, and there wasn't a lot to hold on to, and it was snowy and icy, and I was just like rock climbing basically. It was just a great like in the moment realization of like, okay, yeah, like I like logically I know this is kind of dangerous, but internally I felt like I was okay, realizing like, wow, I've actually like I've come such a long way. And it was interesting that it was like this very physical experience. It took that to make for me to realize like how regulated and healed my nervous system was after like years of the time of uncertainty after, you know, self-employment, breakup. I've lost two brothers in my life in the last 8 years, and like the ups and downs of grief, moving, things like that. I just feel like for the first time in a long time, I'm very like healthy and healed and feel great. We just had started the hike, had barely moved, and like all the air went out of my lungs, and I was like, I can't breathe. And which is mostly the altitude. I'm not like that out of shape, but I started to like disassociate and kind of disconnect from like that physical pain. I was like, this is not fun. I can't breathe. I realized that I was doing that, and I was like, Ruth, like you are in Banff National Park, one of the most beautiful places in the world. You get to do this with your friends. Like, yeah, okay, this is a little bit painful physically, but like you got to be present, feel the pain, like stop thinking about like, oh, when I get back to my bed tonight and I won't have to like be in this anymore. Like, no, like stay in it, feel the pain. This is what you're here for. Like, just be really present in your discomfort, which is like something that I would often, you know, like I would not want to be present in my discomfort. I want to get away from it. I was able to kind of call myself back and be like, no, stay here, stay present. Like, it's uncomfortable, stick with it. A weekend in Sioux Falls, 10 big lessons from 2 little ones. This was a trip that I took with my sister and her 2 kids to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I don't always know like what I'm going to write about specifically when I go on a trip. Like I never know what the experience is gonna be, obviously, until like afterwards. Traveling with kids is very different than traveling with adults. There's definitely like a different level of energy output that is needed. Like I read about how we got to our hotel like after like a day of driving, and then like we had like other activities and stuff, and I was like dead asleep by 6 p.m. Little lessons of the perspective that you gain from being around little ones, those little sweet moments that you get to share with them. And there's lots of messy moments. Babies and bachelorettes, navigating friendship in changing seasons. This blog was inspired by a conversation that I had with another girl who she was talking about how she had lots of, you know, really good friends, but they were all having kids, and she felt like she was seeing them less and less and not able to connect with them. She doesn't have kids. You know, my best friend was pregnant at the time. She had her little girl, healthy and everything, all good. But at the time she was pregnant, and I was like, yeah, like I'm worried about how my friendship with her will change. And like, it sounds really selfish of me to be like thinking about kind of myself in that way, knowing that like she's the one going through, you know, having a baby, and like her whole life changes was something that I felt like I couldn't really express to her at the time. Like I didn't want to like come to her and be like, I'm sad for how our friendship is going to change, which I did eventually finally like talk to her about it, which was a really good conversation, and realized that like probably so many women feel that way. Like if you have friends that are having kids, but you're not. Just not being on the same timeline as your friends, I think, can be difficult. It's about like how to navigate those changes kind of, and like staying connected despite change. And it is hard. It is hard, and it's a different level of effort. But it is important. Like, your married friends with kids need you and you need them. And, you know, it's important to really lean on that support and friendship, even in the changes. And yes, it's going to look differently, and maybe you don't get to hang out for hours and hours and hours like you used to. It's learning how to adjust to that change and how to stay connected. Labor Day staycation, a weekend in Grand Forks. This is a little kind of love letter to the town where I live. Grand Forks, obviously it's about Labor Day. So I had to work on the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, and I was a little grumpy about it because my family was like going to my aunt's lake, in Minnesota, and I wasn't able to go. And I just was like, I should be on a lake somewhere, but I have to kind of stay in town. And I was bummed about it. Then I changed my perspective and changed my attitude around and was like, you know what? I have 2 full days to be in town pretty much by myself, which is, I have a great time by myself. Like, I can go do whatever. Like, I'm happy to hang out alone. And so I basically just like had myself a little Ruth weekend. I went and got coffee in the morning, went for a wonderful walk on the Greenway. Like, went shopping at a new boutique that had opened in town that it was like just so beautiful. Went to a movie by myself, which I love. But the weekend just ended up being so great and so just full of the small things that I just enjoy doing. And I feel like, once I had that perspective shift of like, you know what? Okay, so you can't go out of town when everyone else is like on a boat, but you know what? There are so many great things to do here where you live. And it's really kind of about like appreciating where you live, finding the magic in the mundane a little bit, right? Like, ended up being one of my most favorite days ever. The joy and simplicity, just making your own magic. Montana weekend getaway, peaks, pines, and friendship. This is a blog about my weekend trip to Montana at the beginning of October. Took the train from Grand Forks to Whitefish. Magical. Love the train. I had spent some time in Lakeside, Montana, in like a missions program. Some of those people still live in the area, so my friend Mackenzie and I from Alberta were like, let's go visit our old friends and like make a weekend out of it. This will be fun. It was an interesting comment on revisiting a place that was once like very special to you, but having a very different experience. And I wonder, like, maybe it's relatable in terms of like going, like revisiting your old hometown after a long time, or seeing an old boyfriend or girlfriend after 10 years and you're like, oh, it was so magical. And then you see them again, you're like, was it? How interesting it can be when you are reconnecting with old friends after a long time and you kind of just give them the highlights, right? Like the quick bullet points of your life. But like, there's obviously so much in between that. I was having kind of the same conversations with strangers on the train that I was having with our old friends from, back in that time. And I just felt like I wasn't connecting in a way that I prefer to connect, which is deep. I'm like, give me the mess. Like, what's really happening? How are you really doing? And that's okay. Like, there's not always the space for that. Like, it's okay. I think I just thought like, oh, we're gonna just get in deep and like whatever. But that's tricky too. Like, to do that when it's been 12 years, I think it had been. It's a reflection on that trip, on friendship, nostalgia, how things change after time, and how some things never change.